Hey couples, let's talk about love.
We're not experts. We're just trying to share our love journey.
Hey babe,
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm
You
good.
sounded. That's good. It's a bright sunny day
It is. It's beautiful out here. Beautiful Sunday afternoon.
on the beach,
No,
relaxing. I hear the waves rustling.
in his head, but that's okay.
Hey, I can give whatever picture I want to these folks.
I just see the backyard with the kids' playground. But anywho, let's get to our topic at hand.
Shutting down my beach.
That's his beach. That ain't got nothing to do with mine. But anyway, we left you off last week with our topic, the love account principle, and our love account was seriously in the red.
There you go. So our love account. So when you think about the love account, you want to think about it like a bank account. So in a bank account, you have credits and debits, and you have withdrawals and deposits. So if you withdraw more than you deposit, what happens?
It goes in the red. And
Goes in the red.
doing a lot of that.
That was happening. So we want to stay away from that. And as easy as the longer you are in a marriage, the longer you're in a relationship, to do more withdrawals than deposits, because you get into a cycle, you get into a rut, you get into all that. So we try to avoid that by making sure that we're constantly depositing back into our love account as much as possible.
You can never have too many deposits.
Never have too many deposits. We want our love account to be flourishing.
Riches. We want to be
billionaire in love.
Yes.
Which is key. And that's the key. Now, of course, as we said it, as you're going through life, you're going to have withdrawals. You're going to be pulling from that love account. And those different pulls come in different forms. It could be arguing. It could be arguing unfairly. It could be not listening.
Yes.
It could be not being present with your significant other. You talk about not checking in, as well, not making sure, not paying attention to other person's feelings, not doing for the other person.
Not seeing the signs that something is wrong, body language,
Exactly.
how we address each other,
Exactly.
if we're short with each other.
Yes, how we talk to each other, how we communicate, not communicating.
Exactly.
Was another one, so all of those are withdrawals. And you can come up with a host of withdrawals, but then what are some deposits? Deposits are doing something nice for the other person.
Yeah.
Listening, having, repairing, and like meaningful conversations.
And this is my favorite: checking in after work. How was your day?
Checking in after work.
Like, ooh, what you want for dinner? How was your day? I think that for me, it sets the tone of the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely feel like that's a deposit.
And you know what? You can think about it even in terms of, it doesn't happen with us, but we've seen it on TV where the person walks in from coming to work, and the other person is like hitting them with stuff. Yeah. Like, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do that? That's a withdrawal, as opposed to the deposit. Your deposit was, hey, how was your day?
Exactly.
Did you get a chance to check in on that? Different conversation.
Yeah.
You've asked the same question, but you put it in the form of a deposit versus in the form of withdrawal. And maybe that's the way it is. Like, if you rephrase some of your statements, some of your comments, some of your way you communicate in the form of a deposit versus in the form of a withdrawal, because you may still have a disagreement, but how you have that disagreement could be the difference between a deposit and a withdrawal. Because you are human beings, so you're not going to agree on everything. But we're not going, this is the way that we do it. Can we have a conversation about a topic and it be a repairing type of conversation, or understanding type of conversation, versus being an accusatory conversation, or a yelling conversation, or a combative conversation, or defensive, because sometimes you get defensive. Sometimes you go into the other side.
Or ready to come in for the fight without even having to think about it first and foremost.
Because you're not listening to the other person.
Exactly.
And when you're not listening, you're taking away from the account.
You're withdrawing.
There you go. So as we looked at this, it sparked a lot of conversation and just what it means. But again, it goes back to even our last topic, which you should listen to, because it was a great episode, number 7. Number 8 was number 8 actually. Number 8, where we talked about is a marriage like a business. So again, as we keep on that, same kind of tear with this one, is at the same time is a bank account like a love account. How can you correlate the two? We've correlated it by saying, like, if you have more deposits, then your bank account will flourish. Your love will flourish. We spend more time on the high note. than we do on the low note. And you go back to that. Whenever we, would get to a point where we were like at our wits' end and we're feeling like we were kind of done, one thing that I would always say is, we have a lot more times of love than we have of not.
And that has not always been the case.
No. There's been
We've
more
come a
time.
long way.
Yeah, we've had times where the withdrawals were stacking up.
They were, oh my God, I think we would, like we said, we were seriously in the red.
We was in the negative. That account was not looking good, so how do we get back up? You think about it. We had an example where we were at dinner and I was on the phone, uploading pictures to our
See,
account.
I can't see that from the other side of the
She didn't see
table.
it, and she's just like, we had dinner. Why are you on your phone?
I'm sitting there and I'm like, maybe I'll just wait. Maybe I'll just wait and see what he's gonna do. And he didn't like, I'm like, he's sitting here on his phone, which then made me feel like I wasn't important at that point in time. We're at dinner, the two of us. Why aren't we paying more attention to each other? So I sat and I waited, and I sat and I waited, and nothing happened. So I had to say something, which then made for another withdrawal for me because I had to say something. And I think the conversation went like, I'm sitting right here. Why are you on your phone? And he's like,
I explained what I was doing, but you know what? I wasn't in the moment.
And that's because the dinner was our moment.
And you know what? When you think about it, like I've been in conferences where they say, "Can you not check your phone while we're here? We want you to be present. If you need to, step out." Because what happens is when you start checking your phone, then it works like yawning. Everybody else starts checking your phone. So the worst thing that could have happened that night, I think even more than what happened when you corrected it, because although you said it was a withdrawal for you, I think it also was a combination of a slightly deposit into our relationship because you was trying to bring it back. At the end of the day, by you bringing it up, you're like, hey, we're supposed to be here. So you're bringing it back to us being here. What could have been worse is another withdrawal would have been, again, you'd have got on your phone. And now we'd have just been sitting at dinner together, both of us on our phone, not communicating.
And the withdrawals just coming out.
And just keep pulling out because we're sitting there, the waiter comes over, we're having more conversation with the waiter than we are with each other. Those are withdrawals. So how do you avoid that? And I think by you bringing it back, that was a form of a little bit of a deposit there that said, you know what, although it stemmed from a withdrawal, it was like, hey, we need to be here and we're not here. And it's like, you know what? You're 100% right.
And I know that our lives revolve around our phones. I do. I mean,
it's so easy.
It is. We could just totally like sit in the same room, same table, and text each other.
But at one time, it was all of us, and our daughter pointed out, why are we all sitting at the table on our phone texting each other? We're sending each other messages and links and stuff.
Exactly. So that's why I feel like the withdrawals, if we want to continue to do these deposits, we need to continue to check in with each other. We need to continue to pay attention to each other, especially when we're in intimate settings that we intentionally did, because we could have invited another couple to dinner, right? But this was a day that we wanted to do just us.
Yep. And if we're just us, then it needs to be just us and talking about what's going on. And you know what? Finding what that is, because then that's even more deposit. Oftentimes, and it doesn't have to be like, you also don't want to just get into the rut of just talking about work.
Oh, absolutely.
Because then it becomes kind of depressing. All you talk about is work. We do work all the time. All you talk about, so what else could be going on? Like, share some things. And you know what? I've done it. I've even shared stuff with her, with Monica, that had this. I know she's not really interested in, but she listens to me because she's depositing. So we'll talk about like sports and stuff. And I'm like, oh, it is. And she's not a sports person at all. But I try to make the story interesting enough that it connects and relatable. Like, we've watched a couple of sports documentaries together that weren't all about the sports. It was more about the human being, their relationships and all that. So,
which was very interesting.
And I find some of those and I'll say, oh, we should watch this together because it makes me happy because it's about sports. And I know she doesn't like sports, so I'm trying to get her onto it. I know, hey, if I get her to wear a jersey or a t-shirt, I have won. But but hey, we get there. We watch some of the big games. Like if the Super Bowl comes on, she'll ask who's winning, which is great because you're paying, and which is you depositing by saying, "Hey, I don't like sports, but I'm interested in what you're interested in right now."
And I think
So
that's extremely important to
very
kind of
much
just
so.
hone in. Like I really feel like even though, like you said, I don't like sports, if I just sit there with you, I think that's what you like the most. And if
Yeah,
I ask questions, like,
and I answer.
okay, you do. I like now is it, and then when I get it right, I know that's a tight end. That's what that means,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Tight end, huh?
to me,
What's up with that,
so
huh?
so I really believe that those are those deposits that I can pull from
Yes. Oh, you know what?
eventually.
I love the idea because so before I got with my wife, I was not watching any of the ID channels,
Love them.
the murder mystery, none of those
Love
things.
them.
If they came on and it was stayed on, I may watch it, but it wasn't my thing. It has become my thing because of the deposits I have made. So because I deposited and paid attention and want to be with my wife, so we'll sit there together and watch them. So I'm into it. And there's times where it's I think when I catch myself and laugh is when I'm like, oh, you know what? I saw this one. So I remember. See, what's going to happen is he's going to do this, and you're like, yeah. And I said, no, we watched it together because remember this guy right here, he was doing this. You're like, oh yeah. So then we go try to find another one. So at that point, we're not finding another episode. We're literally gonna find another episode to watch, and we both hadn't seen. Or there's times when she'll watch it, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to make you rewatch it. Just give me what happened and tell me what it is, so that I can figure it out. And sometimes those even form discussions. Like I remember that one series where they were doing. I thought it was great, and it went off. So people probably didn't like it, but I liked it. Where they showed both sides, and both sides were
Yes,
were
I remember
proving
that.
why their side was the right side, and it was so cool because it would spark a conversation between us. And I'd be like, "Well, you know what? I think he did it," and he said, "Well, no, I think she did it," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, but he said blah 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 blah," and that's what made. And it was cool, and it wasn't like a debate. It was like really cool. So I think those are deposits that we make, and I just think about like other ones. Like another example for me was um with work. And you get into your day and you're running and ripping and roaring.
And I know Jason gets extremely busy. I know that. I have to respect that.
But back, in the beginning, it was hard
It
because
wasn't that easy for me to
Monica was
accept
like,
that.
"Hey, you didn't even check on me today." And I'm thinking like, in my mind, my first response was, "Well, I didn't have time," and because I was busy. Well, no, I didn't even say I didn't have time. I would say I was busy, which internalized, I'm saying I didn't have time to check in on you, which is a withdrawal. I'm pulling from the account. Like I couldn't take 5 seconds, 10 seconds to just say, "Hey, how's your day?" And when I understood that it was less about me saying I had no time and more about just checking in on my partner, just checking on the person I say I love, like, and just making sure, how are you doing? Because you know what? It has come up where there's been one or two incidents over our 13 years together where that check in has led to something that needed to be dealt with right then and there.
Absolutely.
So it was like where you needed me for something or I needed you for something. And if we had not checked in, we wouldn't have known that. So it steps up to become something even more than just a feelings check in. But I didn't realize that at the time, and because I thought I was, just doing my thing, but I wasn't doing enough.
And once we got past that part and we do that quick check-in, I then realized if he doesn't check in with me, I know that he's really, really busy or he's in a meeting, so I give him that grace because now we have gotten to the point where those deposits of checking in every day
Adding up.
has piled up. And then if that one day I hadn't heard from him, then either I will check in, say, hey, how you doing? Everything okay? I haven't heard from you. Or I say, he's busy. I need to give him grace.
And you know what? I'm not gonna lie. The feeling of when you check in really makes a big difference for me because
I don't normally do it.
I'm the one that
You're always the one that
initiates it.
initiates
So
it.
when you do it, what it also does for me, and I don't know if you even notice, like what it does for me, it causes me to pause for a second. Because if I haven't checked in with you, especially now that I'm in this world of knowing what it means, I really am like
In the
in
trenches.
the trenches. But you checking in with me allows me a second to stop, take a deep breath, smile, because I see you came across my screen, because my text messages come on my computer too. So I see you come across one of the or multiple screens, and I'm like, "Ooh," and I stop whatever I'm doing and I respond. So it pauses me. It gives me that time to say, take a break, come back to it, which then often helps me move on to either a new topic or finish that task I was working on, because now you've given me that kind of energy to move forward. So it's a lot that happens from these check-ins, and then that's even another deposit. So the first deposit was you checking in. Well, actually, the first deposit was you giving me grace.
Because I know you've been
The
busy.
second deposit was you checking in. The third deposit is me feeling what I felt from that check-in. So
My
it takes
deposits
it.
just piling up,
It just
aren't
keep
they?
piling up. So it's like it means a lot and it's worth a lot. So we have to look at all of those pieces as how they help you, and you always want to give more deposits again. Then you have withdrawals.
And I remember when we first initially talked about this and how it made me feel. At first, I didn't think you understood. You was like, "Well, I'm busy. I'm at work. I understand that." And I always used to say, like, once work is over, or once you leave, or God forbid anything happens, work is gonna always be there. I have to always continue to remember that, because as soon as I hit the ground, dirt's over my head, they don't feel my position. So
Mhm.
at some point, we got to continue to pour into each other by saying the job has 5 minutes that they have to wait for.
Yep, and you have to have those things. Two things that come to mind when it comes to that, which is all related to relationship
Mhm.
and our marriage. One of my supervisors said, "I'm not going to be at your funeral,"
Exactly.
and he said, "Now, we're friends, so I may be at your funeral," but he said,
Mhm.
"But in reality, I'm not going to be at your funeral." And what I mean by that is, when you go, we're just going to replace you.
Exactly.
And that stuck out to me, and I was like, damn, that made me pause and think about who's going to be there. Who's going to be there for me? My wife. So to build on what you just said, like that's the key. So we have to start there first, and then somebody else said, you can have that one thing, and if that one thing, whatever that one thing is, you have that one thing, and work is stopped for that one thing. So for some people, it is their marriage. For
Hmm.
some people, it's I have to go to the gym.
Yeah.
For some people is I have to take a walk, whatever it is. So the one thing, and I start to think about what is my one thing, and I said, yeah, my one thing is my wife. I was like, because if there's anything, I was like, I'll make an excuse for, I want to ride my bike, and I could say, yeah, that's my one thing. But I'll make an excuse of why I can't ride my bike. Oh, it's too cold out there. Oh, it's too early. Oh, I got this to do. Oh, I got this. But you know what? I'm gonna stop. I've been in a meeting, and if like it's different if you text me or call me. So if you text me and I see it and I say, and
Can I
depending on
call
what
you
you say,
back?
can I call you back?
Is it important?
Now, if you
Mhm.
call me and I'm in a meeting and you call me, because typically, if it's a call from Monica, then I know it's elevated. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is.
Mhm.
It's elevated. So I don't get just the whim calls. Like I have some friends that they get mad. They always say, "Oh, my wife's just gonna ask me about bread." Like my wife doesn't ask me about bread on the phone. Not in the middle of the day. But
Especially if I know you're at work
yeah.
and you're
So, but if
person.
I get a call, I'm gonna stop what I'm doing. And there was times where I remember you saying, "I was like, hey, wait, what's going on? You okay?" And you're like, "Why are you whispering?" I said, "Cause I'm in a meeting." You said, "Why did you answer?" I said, "Cause you called." It's like, cause, and you're like, "Oh no, 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 it's okay." And I think once we realize what it was, then it's like when you call, that means it's something that you need me
To do right away,
to read right
because
away.
I would normally try to text you
Yep.
first.
Yep.
If I don't get a response, but now it's a little different because I do know. Now, before, if I don't get a response and I'm calling you, like, why
Mhm.
haven't I heard from you? Why you? But now I know that life is life and business is business and work is work.
And I
And I
always say
have to
just
and I
sorry.
have to respect that. And so I know that he's busy. I've seen it, and I guess once I got that glimpse into what he does, it gives me a different perspective on busy for him. It really is busy.
And I always say, it's interesting. I think for me. I will honestly say it's a little harder because I don't have anybody to check in but you. So like if I don't hear from you, there are times where I do worry
Yes.
because you're at home and I can't get anybody else to check on you, in that way versus you could call a job
Yes.
and call the main number and be like, "Hey, can you get Jason?
You
Like,
can
if it's
ask me to
emergency."
check on me.
But she has to come and get
Yes,
to you.
that's
Like,
true.
literally, all they got to do is be like, they got you. And everybody knows. Like, I also, again, going back to, you got to have that one thing. I've made it clear to anybody who answers the phone. I said, if the number comes up and it says Monica Green on it, wherever I'm at, you come get me. No questions asked. I was like, there's never a point where Monica Green called. I was like, now anybody else, you can leave a message if I'm busy. I said, but if she calls, you gotta go because she's the only one that's gonna really call me at work. I mean, the kids not gonna call me at work. My mother's not gonna call me at work. You're the only person gonna call me at work, and you're my one thing. So I think, and that's my deposit. So it's again, we have to start to put into it. Even taking those times to do something special. There's mornings when it's cold in the house, and I'm up. Leaving before she's getting up yet or coming out of her space. So what I do is I may turn up the heat a little bit, just so that when you step your feet out the bed,
It's warm.
it's a little bit warmer, because otherwise you got to come in and turn up the heat or do it from your phone and you got to wait for it to get warm.
And I didn't even know. I had no idea. I was like, why is it always so warm? Okay, now, and when you said that, I was like, oh, deposit, 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 deposit.
But we do those little things for each other. If we're at the water cooler, fill up the water bottle for the other person too. Like it's those little things. When she gets in my car, I turn on the seat warmer
the heat
when it's cold, so that when I'm picking you up, at least you be warm in the car. And I think those are the little deposits that we make that we have to remember to keep making. I remember you talked about, in past, your past not paying attention.
Mm.
The water and the lemon.
The lemon in the water. How hard is that?
That always stuck with me.
No,
You gotta tell a story. You gotta tell a story.
Okay, so first marriage, first date, water, no lemon. Water, no lemon. Come to the table, there's water with lemon. Come to the table 5 years later, there's water with lemon. Come to the table 8 years later, it's water with lemon. I'm like, how long do I have to be in this relationship marriage to know that I do no water with lemon? The second date we had, I come back with Jason, there's water with no lemon. I was like, oh my God, that's all. It's the little things like that that I need you to remember.
And I tell you, when you brought that up, it stuck with me forever. And but it's a metaphor to me. It's not about the lemon and it's not about the water. It's about you and paying attention to what your needs are and what you ask for. And that's how I looked at it. So I took that in and I try my best. I know I don't always succeed. I know there's times where I falter because you know what? Hey, I'm human, and sometimes I may be in my own rut, in my own space. But my goal is to always do my best to not put the lemon in your water, and as to use it as a metaphor. So,
and when we take a shower, we have a shower, and I noticed in the shower that his back brush was broken. But I also saw that he fixed it.
Greatest thing
And I bought that. I'm a practical person, so I like to buy practical gifts. I love seeing him use that shoehorn that I bought him. I love seeing him use that back scratcher that I bought him. But when I saw that the back brush, because I did buy that one too, and I saw that he had fixed it once, and I said, okay, he fixed it. Then he fixed it again. I was like, okay, he fixed it. But then I saw it broken again in the shower. I was like, you know what? Let me buy him a new brush. Then I came back and it was fixed, looked like it was fixed, but I still put the new one up there. And it's these little things like that I think that's important to notice these things.
That made my morning. That old brush went in the trash to go and fix.
I saw it.
It was broken, and that new one was there, and it ain't gonna break again. There's a new design, and it's perfect. And I was just so happy. And she didn't say a word.
But those
are the deposits. And it's interesting. I think even though our account was in the red, and it was in the red because we were making a lot more withdrawals than we were deposits. I think also there was a lot we weren't paying attention to those deposits.
We were not.
We weren't paying attention at all to the deposits. They were like meaningless. So it may have been there. It was kind of like, when the bank has an error and they've messed up.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, our error. I think we were causing our own error. We were literally not paying attention to the fact that we were putting in because there was so much being taken out,
So
and now we pay attention to the deposits. We make sure that we are putting in. We try our best, even if we're not in the best place with each other. We still make deposits.
and I have a really good one. So we had a little not even an argument, and Jason just snapped. And I know he is not like that. I'm like, yeah, that just don't sound like him. I mean, like, came at me. And the first thing I said was, Jason is stressed. That's the only thing I can think about. He got to be stressed. So here's my deposit. I'm giving him mercy, grace. I'm showing grace. His withdrawal was he snapped at me, but I didn't take it as that. Now, if we were 7 years earlier, then I would have got defensive withdrawal. We would have had a fight withdrawal. I would have snapped back withdrawal, right? But I said no. I know this is not him. So let me just step back and let me tell him. But you know what? We still seeing our therapist, and I said we need to go see him. I think we had an appointment anyway. And I said, we had this. Jake came at me, and I said, but I think he's stressed out. I think that's what it was.
And I remember thinking, I don't get stressed. What are you talking about? But I also, when I realized that I was stressed, because I typically don't get stressed, but I was stressed because this was also post-COVID. I hadn't got COVID before. I got it, and I was stressed. And I started feeling anxiety. I had the COVID brain, so I had lost a lot of my mind and everything. So it was rough. And during that session, I fell in love with my wife over again because I realized that she knew me better than I knew myself. Because if you asked me, was I stressed? I would have told you no. But when she pointed out all the pieces of it and showed me that you were stressed, I was. And not only did I apologize, but it made me recognize what that meant and how to diffuse that, so I don't bring that home, and what to do and how to get past it and to work through it. And now I have a partner in working through it with me. And she became my partner in working through with me, which was perfect. So the withdrawals came as more deposits, and it was phenomenal. And at the end, I shed a tear. I really did, because it meant so much to me. I've always heard people say, you know me better than I know myself. It was the case right then and there. So I loved it.
And I think the most important part for me, which I thought was a deposit, that I was able to recognize that, and I did not take offense to it, because we are on such a good road right now. There are no bumps there, so I had to look at it as something's wrong. It's not about me right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's about what's going on with him. And so that made it a lot more easier for us to deal with it, which made it a lot of deposits into that.
Yep, I agree.
So
we're on that deposit. Our account is looking pretty good, baby.
I think so.
It's a healthy looking account.
It looks good. We're not in the billions. We getting close to it, but not in the billions.
I can't wait till we there.
I agree. So we leave you with this. This was great. Like, this deposits and withdrawals. You need more deposits than anything. We got to make sure that we keep pouring into that. And we just want to make sure you keep that in the mindset. So next week we're going to leave you with this. Our next topic is,
we don't need more date nights. The date night one, right?
Oh, that's going to be
We don't need more date nights. So we'll explain as we get into it.
Yeah,
for sure.
No more date nights. Keep that in mind. So we want to thank you for listening. We appreciate you. Please subscribe, and if you like our podcast, give us a like on Facebook, shout out on Instagram, and join us next week as we talk about
no more date
nights. Until next week, don't forget to tell your spouse I love you, and you know that. You are my rock.
And you are my peace.
Bye, people.
Peace.